Chapter 399, SSS Class Suicide Hunter 1. Breaking news. Death King who set out to conquer the 100th floor of the tower. There has been no news from him for a while, right? So there were many stories about whether he had failed, and that the 5 major guilds including the Black Dragon Guild and the Death King family were sending search parties. Now, it seems all those stories will be dispelled. Hunter ranking number 1. Death King has conquered the sky's extreme point. Roars like thunder echoed across Babylon Square. As you can see, Babylon Square is now a cauldron of festivities. It's probably because everyone heard it through the tower's message before we even announced it. The announcer heard it too, right? Yes. From what we have confirmed so far, it seems that everyone in the tower heard that declaration. It's similar to when the guild master of the Chenmu and the constellation, the ox that harvests ruins, created an unranked item. Indeed. At that time, there was a prophecy that the ox that harvests ruins would block the Death King's path, so the tower was once turned upside down. The worlds within our tower collaborated to organize a large-scale punitive force, or so was the controversy on whether we should wait and see. Eventually, the guild master returned and explained what had happened, and the controversy was resolved. The announcer wiped his forehead. Compared to then, there's hardly any confusion. The greatest confusion would be the extent of alcohol and chicken running out all over the tower's worlds. Yes. Because it's good news to the point where there's no way to misunderstand it. Those who oppose the Death King, the group demanding the truth from the Death King, seem to want to misunderstand it again. What do you think? We will connect to the scene. People wearing masks gathered, holding placards that read, Death King, X, Liar King, oh, the manufactured Death King, the dark connection between Death King and the Aegim Empire, Earth's traitor, puppet of Sormwin, and so on. Those at the forefront raised their voices. Us. The group demanding the truth from the Death King, commonly known as Truth Demanders, argue today that the specific message that was allegedly transmitted throughout the tower could have been manipulated, and to discuss this possibility, we have invited a tower expert to this place. Listening to the expert, basically, it's said that the Death King has bought off the tower. It's observed that the tower's administrators show favoritism towards the Death King. Or it might even be due to some skill. Even if it's not a skill, our group suspects that the very fact that the Death King has ascended to a constellation seat is shrouded in doubt. But look, if it's true that the Death King became a constellation, he could send the same message to many people at the same time. How could someone in his early 20s, who had lived a life like a painted NET, become a representative hunter of the tower, and conquering the 100th floor? Even elementary school level common sense would tell you that doesn't make sense. The announcer narrowed his eyes. What are these people even talking about? I'm not sure myself. Anyway, they're saying it's all fake, a scam. Even if by chance it's true, it's a scheme concocted with the tower, so the Death King has done nothing. Even if he reached the 100th floor, does it improve people's lives by even a gram? It seems like things we don't need to know. It's been a while since the message about conquering the 100th floor went out, but have there been any contacts from the Death King himself? We have been consistently in contact with the wide area telecommunications, the 5 major guilds, the Duke Ivansha family, and the apostles of the Death King family, but still. The announcer's expression suddenly changed. I just received a message from the Death King. Is that so? Which side is it? It's from the Black Dragon Guild side. The broadcasters understood what that meant. The fact that they received contact from the Death King from none other than the Black Dragon Guild indicated that all of the Death King's private communications had concluded, and everything to be announced or kept secret had been perfectly decided. If that's the case, the burden on the broadcasting station's side is rather reduced. The announcer said, "Please connect us to the scene." The screen changed. The hall of the Black Dragon Guild was shown. Previously, there had been a vote concerning the fate of the tower. In that vote, which weighed on the scales whether to become pioneers or settlers, the people of the Lion World chose to move forward. No one would question that it was the Death King's speech that decided the direction of the vote. The hall of the Black Dragon Guild shown on the screen was the very place where that legendary speech had taken place. Probably, even this reminder effect was set up by the Black Dragon Master. Kim Gongja, the protagonist who had stirred up the tower, was right there where he had been back then. Ladies and gentlemen, the Death King. It's been 16 years since he said he was heading to the 90th floor and left. After a whole 16 years, the Death King has revealed himself. The announcer shouted excitedly. Beyond the screen, a surreal commotion was heard in the hall of the Black Dragon Guild. Everyone, there's no need to rush, the Death King will soon return to your side. Reporters, please keep order and enter. Members of the Black Dragon Guild were controlling the commotion and invited the reporters in. Meanwhile, the announcer commented on the situation inside the hall. The Death King is not actually standing there. It's a video connection. Right next to it, there's a wide area telecommunications company standing by. Seeing that the Inventor King is also present, it seems like a real-time connection is certain. Just now, the group demanding the truth from the Death King stated that if the real Death King doesn't appear, it would be a manipulation by the Black Dragon Guild, but what do you think? I must say again, there seems to be no need to listen to those folks. I was a bit disappointed the moment I realized it wasn't actually the Death King appearing but just a video connection. Just by having a thought similar to those folks makes the whole issue entirely unproblematic, and for that alone, I am thankful. While this conversation is going on, it seems that the inside of the conference hall has been somewhat organized. I will now move to cover it. Soon, Kim Gongja appeared in front of a projector, and a group of reporters huddled around him. The reporters asked, "Good day, Death King. Or, should we now call you the sky that gathers screams?" It was the first question thrown at him upon his return. The Death King smiled. "You can call me whatever you like." It seems that members of the group demanding the truth from the Death King are also here. You can call me whatever you wish. Even calling me a plague is fine. However, I prefer being called Kim Gongja. It would be comforting if you called me Mr. Gongja. And that was his first response. The reporters threw the next question. "We received the message that you have broken through the 100th floor. Congratulations. What was beyond that? What rewards did you receive? What happened there? What are your plans moving forward?" Despite the Black Dragon Guild members doing their best to control the order, these questions burst out almost simultaneously, like a multi-headed snake. It didn't matter. After all, these were all things that needed to be discussed. Kim Gongja took a deep breath. "I have. 2. I met the Tower Master. I became a pillar. I parted ways with the Sword Emperor. I talked with my companions. I accepted the first incident calmly. No, to be precise, neither the Sword Emperor nor I were in a state to make a fuss when the Tower Master revealed herself in the world that had crumbled after the last key was inserted. The Tower Master expressed it like this. You two look like privates who played an intense game of soccer and collapsed in the middle of the playground. Lying sprawled out and gasping for breath, I didn't even turn towards where that violet voice was coming from when I said, 'Well, Tower Master, soccer played with 2 people? Isn't that a game played by 12 people? Gongja, you are showing that you are from the generation that hasn't served in the military yet again. This is truly an amazing foreshadowing payoff. I had no idea what that meant. It was only then that I looked up at the Tower Master. At the summit of this tower, much like a mountain peak, there was merely a white dot. The Tower Master stood alone at that white point, looking down at us. The Sword Emperor raised a hand. "Hello, Auntie." "Well, hello, Uncle." The Tower Master also raised a hand in greeting. I laughed. Usually, at this point, one would blush and cover their face with darkness saying, "Who are you calling Auntie?" or ask back, "What did you just say?" Screaming Sky. Please realize that what you just said is not something that can be captured by the modifier, usually. What exactly are you trying to make me into? Truly, she was like a goddess of fertility, possessing the wisdom of raising 24 children. Although I had no mother, I imagined this was how it would feel if she found the comic books I was hiding. The Tower Master sighed while flapping her sleeves. If you insist on using the modifier usually, then you should say, "Don't we usually meet in a slightly more sacred and impactful atmosphere?" I already know the answer. Because originally, this is where we should have first met. But I had already faced the Tower Master several times. Any impact was inevitably less than my first encounter with the Sword Emperor. Even so, it feels like a more formal meeting than a casual "hi and howdy" could have been possible. I scratched my cheek when I thought about the lack of atmosphere at this meeting. Isn't this the way it is with me? I remember a few pillar meetings were called because of me, and I don't need to be censored anymore. If we don't count the time you faced my avatar on the 29th floor of Lion World, or the fact that I am always beside you all, then yes, if we only count the times we met face to face, that's accurate. Shall we have a drink? That's the first suggestion made by those who stepped onto the sky's extreme point beyond the 100th floor. The Tower Master flicked her finger with a smile. Not a bad idea at all. A makeshift table descended into the empty world. The Sword Emperor pulled out a porcelain liquor bottle from his robes. I was dumbfounded. Isn't that liquor at least 140 years old? Probably older? The place I was in had days that changed very quickly. Mr. Sword Emperor, have you ever heard of an expiration date? When I lived alone, I also used to open canned tuna that was a few years old and put it in expired ramen, but that's really not good. It makes life very bleak, so to speak. Don't you know the common sense that liquor improves with age? Stop your nonsense and prepare some snacks. The Sword Emperor, still seated, pushed my back with his foot. This is bothersome, but still, I got up grumbling. Aren't the pillars coming? I didn't bring them. Oh, why not? Most of the pillars wouldn't welcome you all. Especially you, Screaming Sky. I recalled the attitudes shown by the other pillars, excluding the lady, when the Wand of Ages had strutted out before me. Smiling while lighting up an aura instead of a fire, I said. I do enjoy provoking such people. The Sword Emperor chuckled. This guy really has a knack for that. You seem like you'd be good at stirring things up too, wouldn't you? Now that I have a body and a mouth, shall I hang around and have fun by your side for a while like I used to? I'll appoint you as a quibble advisor for the Death King family. I made fried rice with eggs using an aura flame. Considering the age of the eggs and rice, they should be fine since I had stored them in a handy magic pouch. It's not like these folks here would suffer from food poisoning. In the meantime, the Tower Master prepared glasses and bowls for us. I didn't come here alone just for you guys. Now that we finally have a reacher, shouldn't I have something to enjoy too? I bet you'd really enjoy watching from the sidelines as the pillars suffer from Sword Emperor and my bantering. Of course I'll enjoy it, and I'll continue to enjoy it thoroughly in the future, but still. The Tower Master placed a drinking glass in front of each of us with a smile. I want to enjoy this quiet atmosphere right now. I finished cooking. I shaped the fried rice into rice balls and topped them with a bit of oyster sauce. The tower master seemed dumbfounded at the egg-fried rice. Does Screaming Sky use rice as a side dish? Fried rice with eggs and oyster sauce is delicious. Do you use rice as a side dish? I asked twice because it seemed you didn't hear properly the first time. It's salty, so it goes well with alcohol. Especially with a slightly bittersweet rice wine or fruit wine, it's just perfect. Sword Emperor, that's Macchiali, right? It's distilled liquor though? Even not in spirit form, Sword Emperor remains Sword Emperor. Not useful when it really matters. Sword Emperor imbued a drop of liquor with aura and shot it at me, nearly causing an incident that could have forced me to regress after piercing my heart. The Tower Master scolded us. How is it that you fight and brawl both before and after breaking through the sky's extreme point? Oh, dear. Living as Tower Master is a continuous series of struggle, isn't it? Gongja, please don't try to rival Venomous Snake in that aspect. Just take a drink. Sword Emperor and I did as told. The Tower Master poured liquor into my glass first. You've worked hard. Yes. Chapter 400 SSS Class Suicide Hunter 2. By the time my glass was full, I received the bottle and poured the drink into the Tower Master's glass. Do you still have the same intention of appointed as a pillar, Screaming Sky? Yes. Gulp, 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 as I poured the drink, I continued. Not only that, I am still determined to aim for the position of Tower Master. Huh. Well, it's common for all new employees to aim for the CEO position. It's a legitimate aspiration. While looking at the rising drink, the Tower Master spoke. Be careful not to shatter that aspiration. You have barely been assigned to manage just the netherworld among the portfolios overseen by the pillars. If you wish to challenge me, Screaming Sky, plunder the territories held by all the pillars. The glasses were now filled. I put down the bottle. What territories do the other pillars have? That's for you to find out in the future. It's good to have ambition, but let's not talk business anymore as this at a welcome party, it kills the mood. Well, that makes sense. I lifted the glass filled by the Tower Master. The Tower Master also lifted the glass I had filled. Please wait a bit. I will wait. Our glasses clinked. With a clear sound, our reflections smiled on the rippling surface of the liquid. Thus, I drank the alcohol filled by the Tower Master. Initially cold, the drink heated up my blood as it went down my throat. A feeling of fullness, relief, and anticipation for tomorrow. There was no specific message, but I realized that I had become a pillar, and that I was formally in charge of managing all the netherworlds of this tower. While I was absorbed in this reverie, the Tower Master also poured for the Sword Emperor. Thank you for coming. The Sword Emperor received the bottle and in turn filled the Tower Master's glass. Don't mention it. The bottle was placed on the tray. They clinked their full glasses and drank. After a sigh laden with the spirit of alcohol, the Tower Master said. Screaming Sky was appointed to a pillar position. You've accepted the assigned position. Congratulations, Gongja. You've joined a major corporation as an executive. But Sword Emperor. There is no specific promise made to you. The Tower Master looked straight at the Sword Emperor. A purple mirror reflected the Sword Emperor. What do you desire? Nothing in particular. The Sword Emperor replied plainly. If there is a difference between a tower and a mountain, it would be whether there is someone who built it or not. But the work done by those who reach the summit is the same, whether it's a tower or a mountain, right? The Sword Emperor picked up the bottle again and filled the Tower Master's glass. It's time for me to go down now. The Tower Master hesitated. To that, the Sword Emperor said, "Give me the authority to leave the tower."
Ah,
The Tower Master sighed. "I knew you would say that. You guessed it? From the beginning, the reason you entered this tower was to have a drink with me." Purple breaths piled up like the first snow on the white extremity. "I am possessive. I don't want to let go of any treasures I hold. Literally, even if my skin rots, my flesh crumbles, and my bones break down, I hope they mix within my box, even if mixed with dirt." That was something I also realized when I learned there was a netherworld in the tower. But even so, while sipping the drink, the Tower Master muttered, looking down, "You can't leash a warrior." The Tower Master, obscured behind the glass, lacked the forcefulness she had hinted at when talking about the territories of the pillars just moments ago. Instead, she seemed infinitely weak and desolate. I realized that this sight felt strangely familiar.
ah,
It's the director. The Tower Master's current expression reminded me of the director, who used to watch us from behind as we left the orphanage. Looking back, Amethyst in the side story world also had such a face when she sent me away. Perhaps all parents who send off their children wear the same expression. "I'll visit occasionally." After downing his drink in one go, the Sword Emperor tapped my head a few times with his large hand. "I'll come to see this guy's garden of gray, and if this fellow is wallowing in self-pity again, I'll have to kick his butt."
ah,
"What do you mean I wallow in self-pity?" Ignoring my muttering, the Sword Emperor looked at the Tower Master. "So I'll come by occasionally to drink with you like this, so don't worry." "Yes," the Tower Master said, her loneliness evident despite her efforts to suppress it. "Please visit occasionally." For the Tower Master, who had encompassed countless numbers of worlds within the box called the Tower, and watched over even more lives and deaths, farewells were always a painfully new thorn. I thought of Fox. During my climb through the 90s floors, Fox, along with the Lady and the Serpent, had hidden herself and was dying suffocated by loneliness. The Grey Spider, the Sword Emperor here beside me, and even my master and Raviol, their greatest enemy wasn't someone with stronger power, but the fact that they had no one beside them. Indeed, even the strongest among us face the blade of loneliness. I deeply felt that the Tower Master was struggling with that blade. I bowed my head. "Thank you." The Tower Master looked up. With a face still marked by loneliness, she looked at me, and like the time I had thanked her before, I said, "Thanks to you building the tower, we were able to come this far." I said, "I could become someone." I spoke of what I learned. Sword Emperor was not the only one. I spoke of the things I learned. Estelle didn't have to become a devil king. One by one. Shiny wasn't wrong to establish that nation. Kim Yul wasn't born trash. Master. One by one. Master have could avoided a meaningless death. Raviol could become a little happier, and Sylvia could find happiness without hurting or belittling others. Anastasia could smile more sincerely, and the Crusader could pursue justice without actually killing anyone. Bambolina wasn't an incomprehensible monster. Liao Fan. Each name seemed to pour into me like raindrops from somewhere other than here. With each word overflowing from my heart, there were people I had met. La Fanta Ejim. Hamustra. Fox. The First Wave. The Director.
yo, so, ha,
I said. We were not born wrong. I deeply bowed my head as I filled the Tower Master's glass. Thanks to you building the tower, all of this could be proven. The drink overflowed from the glass. My face reflected in the spilled drink on the tray. It soon ceased to be visible. It was disturbed by tears falling from my chin. "Thank you, Mother." I said to the tower master. Thank you, brother. I said to the sword emperor. I am fortunate to have met you both. Silence ensued. The silence was broken by the tower master. With arms crossed and head bowed, the tower master repeated this several times. And then. I am pleased. The tower master's face, as she spoke, was shining brighter than the sun that floated above the sword emperor's floral tribute. Suddenly, a hand touched my forehead. With the same warmth as that touch, the sword emperor said. Contact me anytime. Yes. I wiped the tears from my eyes and nodded. I will. Time passed. We shared a few more drinks together. When the fried rice was all gone, naturally, the bottle was empty too. Then. Yes. Both the sword emperor and I carefully stood up. The tower master did not. She sat there just as she had been while drinking, because this was her home. Because that was her place. But the tower master watched us with her hands clasped together. May luck be with you all. And then she let us go. 3. There's nothing particularly noteworthy to say about what followed. What I've said is everything. I became a pillar. I didn't start working right away. Even I need a break, don't I? The souls that waited for me while I climbed to the 100th floor, I'm sorry, but they would have to wait a little longer. I planned to meet those still alive and waiting for me first. The Wand of Ages was incredulous, wondering how I could skip out on the first day. I joked, asking if he was already upset over this. How was he going to endure the many days ahead with me? The Wand of Ages just sighed. I parted ways with the Sword Emperor. The Sword Emperor received the authority to leave the tower. Amazingly, this authority applied to all worlds that the tower encompassed. Essentially, the Sword Emperor could not only return to the world of myriad swords, where he was originally from, but he could also go to modern Earth where I was born, outside the tower where the Grey Spider lived, and even to the world where the Tower Master was born. Due to an incident on the 10th floor, the Sword Emperor, who surprisingly harbors a competitive spirit, said upon parting that he would visit the world of the Tower Master. Previously, when the lady who walks the mirage answered the Sword Saint's question, he wanted to challenge an entity called the Absolute Sword Master, deemed the most powerful swordsman across all worlds. However, it seemed it would take some time before that plan could be enacted. Because the Sword Emperor had been stuck on the 99th floor for a long time, he had many accumulated tasks. First, he would visit his homeland in the world of myriad swords to meet living connections. Next, he would come to Babylon on our tower's first floor to share a drink with the Sword Saint. If there were others he was close to, he would likely share a drink with them too. Then he would come to my garden to pay his respects to the Grey Spider. Only after that would he travel to the Tower Master's world. It would be a lie to say I am not envious of the Sword Emperor's unburdened demeanor. But just as he made his choice, I made mine. I have a responsibility to live my own life. I talked with my colleagues. To be honest, I never imagined, no, to be more honest, I did imagine that I would get so much criticism in my life. I think it's only fair to receive criticism for making others wait and worry. This, too, is part of the responsibility of living my life. Despite the distress caused by the countless harsh words I had heard, I was able to calm myself thanks to being able to touch the fluffy back of Fox who had appeared before me. That I got my fingers bitten by Fox later is a secret just between us. While talking with my colleagues, I shared the experiences I had been through. My colleagues also shared what had happened to them during this time. As much as I had seen and experienced while ascending the 90s floors, we managed to sort out the situation rather quickly. Serpent, who was summoned by Fox, seems to have evolved to something akin to an anaconda, gathering divinity in my absence, and its sporadic revelations of secrets it knew helped fill in the gaps. Truly, I am grateful. After we settled the situation, the topic of what to do next came up, and that's when this press conference was planned. It was Anastasia's suggestion. I gladly followed the proposal of a friend wiser than me. That's all. Most of it, I spoke to the journalists looking at me from beyond the projector screen. I hid what needed to be hidden and omitted what needed to be omitted, but still, it took a considerable amount of time to talk. The journalists probably won't struggle for stories for a while. Whether that's good news or bad news for them, I'm not sure. If there are those who feel it's the former, they might be a little happier. I was willing to gladly answer all the questions coming from this press conference. Eventually, a journalist asked, "What do you plan to do now?" I raised my head. I see the journalists looking at me, the cameras capturing me, and the many people who will be watching me through those cameras. What am I going to do now? Initially, I plan to enjoy being alive while playing with Raviel. That is my absolutely truthful future plan. But I did not say that. Because surely, there is someone like the old me, cooped up in a room, watching me on television with the same expression I had when I watched the Flame Emperor. There is something the Flame Emperor of that time could have told me. Of course, the Flame Emperor of that time never said it in any interview. And now, I can understand that it's not something to resent. The Flame Emperor lived as an emperor and thus spoke as one. If there is something I wanted to hear, then I must be the one to say it. A word that my 33-year-old self wanted to hear. Something I wished my idol would have told me. I said something that everyone could relate to. I planned to live through today. That too, was an absolutely truthful future plan. End of SSS Class Suicide Hunter.